Okay, we are live. Awesome. It is oh my god, we're almost in the middle of March. I can't even believe that. This month has been
Time
going by way
flies.
that's what happens when this month goes by very fast. And it's also Mario Day. So, yeah,
Yay!
Nice.
and it's fun too cuz I got the Mario board on the original Marty Party going on right now, but I did not have Mario playing as a character. So, yeah.
Boo!
But the
Mm.
Mario but the Mario trailer got released, the last one before the movie comes out in April, and I will say it looked pretty good. So my childhood friends and I are all going to go see the movie in April when it comes
I
out.
was, I was about to say, did they replace Chris Pratt finally?
Did they what, Chris Pratt?
Replace.
Replace.
Oh
And
no,
sadly, no.
no, they're not replacing him.
Fuck.
God damn it.
Yeah, it's not happening. Okay, so movie was going on to our topic tonight, and I did not realize this until after the show we did last week. So last Saturday on Netflix, and this was happening also on my dad and sister's birthday. So we just got home, and I realized, wait a minute, why is Netflix going live? Like, I didn't even know Netflix did live shit. And then I realized it's the pre-show for Chris Rock's new live comedy special. It's the first time that Netflix has done a live stand-up comedy special. They had a pre-show and a post-show, so they treated this like it was a boxing pay-per-view, which I thought was really weird. Like, they actually had like a crew. They actually had like analysts and commentators of like stand-up comedians. So I was like, oh, what do you think Chris Rock's gonna do tonight? Like, well, I think he's gonna go out there and kick ass. And I'm surprised there wasn't like a Vegas betting line or something.
Oh man.
I mean, that would have been something. It's like, oh, what do you think he's gonna? I'm surprised the betting line wasn't. How long do you think he's gonna talk about Will Smith for in this entire thing? Like, do you think it's gonna last an hour? Is it gonna last the whole thing? Like how much do you think he's gonna give like this whole thing that happened last year at the Oscars? And I'm surprised nobody like put down Vegas odds on that. But yeah, that's the whole reason why this live special was made, because Netflix wanted to capitalize on what happened last year when Chris Rock just got slapped by Will Smith. So
Keep
what
your
is
fucking my wife's name out of your mouth.
yeah, something along those lines. Just just done by and we talked about the whole Darman episode that was that got inspired by that. Yeah, people just capitalized on that thing. And now Netflix is doing it because it's been an entire year, because the Oscars actually start again on Sunday. So they time this just at the right time, because it's like, oh, it's been a year. Now we're going to finally, now Chris, that they advertised it as Chris Rock is finally going to come clean about the whole Slapgate, which is what they're calling it now. Because we've seen Will Smith apologizing in multiple platforms and trying to get like Chris Rock's forgiveness, and just trying to put the whole incident behind him, even though he's been banned from the Oscars for 10 years. And people have criticized him for going that route. But people have always wanted to hear what Chris Rock's whole thing was. And finally, that's what they tuned in for this Netflix special to see. And they wanted to do it live because they wanted to get his raw emotion and his reaction to it, because they knew that people had been waiting for this. But the thing is, like, Chris Rock, like, and all these stand-up comedians, what they usually do is they do tours across America. They test out their material in front of thousands of people, and they try to see like what jokes work, what don't work, before they actually do their special. And so Chris Rock had been doing these jokes, and so people had been letting others know, like, yeah, these are the type of jokes that he said to us in like our hometown or whatever, and these are the jokes you should look out for in the Netflix special. So some were anticipating it, and a lot of them had an embargo, so people that were at the shows couldn't actually talk about it, because otherwise they would get sued. Because that's the thing that happens with movies. If you're a movie reviewer, you can't review the movie that you've seen, because then you'd get an embargo placed on you, or because you have to wait until the movie actually comes out. Same thing with stand-up shows.
It's
So
the same thing with video game reviews too.
yes, like you can't actually talk too much about the game, otherwise the game company will sue you. An embargo is
Yeah.
placed in all different forms of medium. So this thing was about an hour long. It was actually more than an hour long. The live one, they don't have the live version up on Netflix anymore. They actually just uploaded what they would usually do if it was like a regular stand-up show. It's just a recorded thing, and they just edit out whatever mistake that the comedian makes. But Chris Rock did make a mistake in one of his jokes. Like, he actually messed up a joke. And people are making the joke like, wow, Will Smith still lives in Chris Rock's head. He can't even get a joke about Will Smith correct.
Meh.
But so he doesn't even talk about the whole Will Smith thing until the last 7 minutes of the special. The other hour that he does is mostly about other things. So the special, he named this special Selective Outrage. And if most people don't know what that means, I'll tell you, because I actually transcribed the whole thing. I'm not going to read it word for word, otherwise Netflix will sue me. But because they want people to buy the subscription so they can watch Chris Rock. By the way, you know how much they paid Chris Rock to do this special? $40 million.
Millions.
$40 million. That's how much money Chris Rock made just on doing an hour. You know how much people would pay to get that kind of money just for working for an hour? Imagine the amount of struggle that a person would love to just be like, oh, I get to say whatever I want in front of a crowd of 100 people, and I can make $40 million, and it gets streamed so people can watch it forever, and I can get royalties on that. I mean, Jesus, the amount of people. Trippy Cat, Netflix isn't going to sue you. Oh, you never know. You never know with these people. Companies are just very you got to understand something about corporations. Like, even if you criticize them, they can get after you for libel and slander. If you all you have to do is just say one bad thing, or if you just like read an entire transcript of the show that they want you to pay to see on their subscription model, they will go after you for that, because then they feel like that's a loss of money on you. Sorry, Trippy Cast. It looked like cat for me because my vision's getting a little blurry, and also it's because my chat's not very what's the word? It's not as the font is not as big, so it's hard for me to see. So I apologize, Trippy Cast.
Mr. Dini needs glasses.
Oh, pretty soon. And you know the funny thing is, what the funny thing is? I'm in my 30s, and I'm in my 30s, and all my other family members needed glasses when they were in their 20s. So, actually, for me, like I'm actually improving the family life. Although with my niece and nephew, we'll see. I will have to see when they start getting glasses. I think my niece actually got it already, and she's almost 13. Trippy, because, dude, no offense, but I'm the only one watching, and I don't work for Netflix. I know you don't work for Netflix, but somebody might be watching this and think, like, oh, I represent Netflix. Although, I will admit, Netflix workers, they're badass, because after Dave Chappelle had his special, they fucking went and protested because they didn't like it, and the bosses were like, I can't believe our own employees just decided to do a walkout because we made a lot of money on the Dave Chappelle thing. Yeah, it's because he said anti-trans shit. That's why. Of course, you're not going to see people walk out of the you're not going to see employees walk out of the Chris Rock one, because so what was the worst joke Chris Rock said, in your opinion? Well, let's go over it. And we'll talk about it. I will say the one involving his daughter, I believe, is the one that really got me the most. So one of the first things he talks about is the whole he starts doing what every other stand-up comedian that has millions of dollars does. He starts talking about wokeism and how, like, oh, you got to look out because everybody's going to be trying to come after you. Everybody's scared. Everybody's afraid of the woke train or the woke mob. They're all after you. Like if you say that, if you disagree that a gay wedding is happening and you can't say anything bad about it, or something along those lines, and even going so far as to saying like, oh, he was making fun of the fact that people have been saying words hurt people, and he said something along the lines as well. People that say that words hurt have never gotten punched in the face before. Words hurt only if it's written on a brick. Which by the way, I should say the audience, when you look at the audience, a lot of them seemed very uncomfortable with a lot of what he was saying. Like when they did close-ups on the audience's reaction, a lot of them weren't clapping. A lot of them weren't really reacting. And it was just a weird thing. And they were trying to get so many close-ups of people, like, and considering this is live, by the way, the production crew was really trying to find people that were really enjoying Chris Rock's material, and they just were not finding things. It was like they would just get like a close-up of a woman's face and she would just be like, eh. And that was like the best they would get sometimes. Or sometimes it's like, oh, we found the one white woman in the audience and she's laughing at all the stuff she's laughing at all the stuff Chris Rock's saying. Let's get a close-up on that. And that happened only once, but it seemed like the close-ups they were getting of the audience were mostly people in their 50s and 60s. Like the type of audience that still thinks like talking about the woke shit is funny. Like anybody that's over 40 really thinks there's like a woke mob that's coming after them. Like, oh, you know, if you wanted to get a promotion in work, all you had to do is work hard. Nowadays, all you have to do is wait for somebody to say one bad thing and then you could just get them fired. Like, first of all, nobody really does. That's what Chris Rock said in his special. First of all, there's nobody that actually does that. People don't walk into their workplace thinking like, ooh, who am I going to get fired today? Like, what's the one thing somebody's going to say that's offensive that I could just get them fired over? Like, no, I've worked in many different work environments. I've worked in news. I've worked in business, I've worked in school things. I worked in hospitals. It's never happened. And even if you do say something ridiculous, like you talk it amongst your coworkers, like people are not going to go out of their way to fire you because unless you say something really egregious. Like the one thing, like, but then again, I've worked for companies where you wouldn't even get fired for saying something egregious. Like the only time somebody ever got fired when I worked in like the news is when they got drunk and they came in drunk. And they were and because they were partying the previous night, and they were still partying when they came into work, so we fired him because he was completely drunk and couldn't work. But I have to say that it would have to be something like really egregious. Like the joke would have to be something that is like completely inappropriate for like the workplace environment, but people don't go out of their way to do it. It's not something that people walk in every day and be like, oh, who can I be offended at today? It doesn't work like that. A lot of times what happens is you do say something that's horrible, and it's just that the rest of the people either be like, okay, you really messed up and you really need to change it, or they'll be like, oh no, fuck you, I'm not going to change it, I'm still going to keep doing it. And then it just becomes a matter of, okay, we got to get you out of here because you're just too toxic for this place. I mean, it's not as, it's a very old stereotypical trope of younger generations. And it's just something that they're just going to keep harping on because it's the only thing that the older generation really can say about the younger generation. And we're going to keep seeing this also, but it's just going to go under a different name. At one point it was political correctness. At one point it was, and now it's called woke. So they're going to call it something else in like 20 years when we start getting old and our generation starts saying that about whatever the next generation name is. Right? Right now we're on Alpha and Zoomers. So whatever's after whatever's after Alpha and Zoomers. Trippycast, it might be rare, but people do seek it. Well, the numbers don't even add up. If it's rare, then people are really focusing on the rarity of it happening. More so than does it actually happen the majority of the time. I mean, you got to go by the numbers of this stuff. Like if it's not if it's, it would only be a concern if it was happening like more than 50% of the time. If it was going to like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, then you could talk about that. It's like, oh my God, what is all this stuff going on? But if it happens rarely, that's not something that people are going to get it's something that people are not going to throw a fit over. The only people that are going to do that are mostly conservative older people that want to stay relevant in society, but they just don't want to be held accountable to the standards of today's generation of kids.
Well, weed legalized. Is that too much to ask?
Oh, hopefully we can get weed legalized. Which, by the way, we will talk. Which, by the way, Chris Rock made a weed joke involving Goofy, so I'll save that for later. It's more famous people. No. It's a lot more prominent. Well, here's the thing, Trippy. You want to know why it happens with famous people? Because there's a camera on them, and they are people in their lives are going to be exposed to a lot more of that shit because they're public figures, and public figures are held to a higher standard than regular citizens. I mean, this is why we go in the political sphere, we always go after politicians for saying or for not going with the desires that voters are wanting. It's the same thing with celebrities. Like if a celebrity says something out of line with the audience, with the audience not liking it, then obviously they have to be subjected to that because they're public figures, and in a way they do represent American culture. So it's always been the case. It was the case when we were living in the golden era of Hollywood. I mean, there were some things that Humphrey Bogart said back in the day that, baby boomers had issues with, I'm sure. Anyway, and he would even go so far, Chris Rock, getting back to him, he was like, look, I have no problem with wokeness. I'm all for social justice. I'm all for marginalized people getting rights. But I have a problem with selective outrage. And what that means is, one person does something, they get canceled, going into the whole cancel culture shit. Which, by the way, does not exist. It's just holding people to account. It's like one person does something, they get canceled, and somebody else does the exact same thing, and nothing happens to them. And he gives an example. It's like, people are cool playing Michael Jackson songs, but you can't play R. Kelly. And it's like, yeah, two different scenarios here. Like, R. Kelly actually got tried and went to prison for more than, 30 years, I believe, for a lot worse shit that Michael Jackson was accused of. And even then, the Michael Jackson stuff has been rebuted, a lot. And even the people that did the whole Leaving Neverland documentary, there were people that were criticizing them over that and saying that a lot of the things over there were not substantiated. So there were people that are not comparing, and by the way, Michael Jackson's nephew pretty much told Chris Rock on Twitter, "Is like, keep my uncle's name out your fucking mouth."
Mm-hmm.
So even the Jackson family.
Wasn't the nephew also the same one who made a documentary refuting a lot of the points made in the Leaving Neverland thing?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes. And he also praised Will Smith for slapping him as well, in the tweet following that. It's like because he considers Will Smith a hero now. So he talks about how he ran into an old buddy in his old neighborhood, and he's like, his friend now works at AT&T, and he's like, "Hey, how's everything going at your new job?" He's like, "Oh man, I love my new job. It's a safe space. I feel heard. I feel seen. There's a lot of diversity here." And Chris Rock says, "I'm not wearing a wire. You could talk to me." It's like, what do you mean safe space? You did 8 years for manslaughter. Nobody's safe around you. And then he makes the point. It's like, oh, people need to stop doing the whole cancel thing because because you have iPhones that are basically made by child slaves. So shut the fuck up. But of course,
which is true. But at the same time, people have said, you can get while we don't condone that, a lot of times Because there are people out there that's saying like, yeah, it's like you got to be able to draw nuance in these certain circumstances, and that you got to provide certain context for certain things. Like, yes, people that have phones are outraged at the fact that there are child slaves making phones, and they're advocating that does not happen. But at the same time, we do need to use these phones in order to communicate. So and unfortunately, like, these phones have become a necessity. So, I mean, to make that point is, kind of a non-factor because the nuance just isn't there. And while we all agree that it's terrible, like, it's not like Nike. You don't need Nike in order to be, it's a luxury item, and Nike is also made by child slaves, but it's a luxury item. Unlike phones, like, you really do need a phone in order to communicate and be able to to survive in society nowadays. It's almost become like drinking water, unfortunately.
Right.
Not to say that cell phones are going to give you nectar of the gods, but it's like you do need phones in order to, do your job or take care of your family, because a lot of the stuff that people do, like, a lot of people do bank transactions on their phones. Like, people travel that way. People find people that they've never met before, or they're trying to find family members. A lot of times they need to use the phones in order to do it. Having access to a phone is important.
Hell, I even ordered a birthday gift on my phone last night.
Yeah.
Of course.
So that's really helpful. So Chris talks about going into a store. Do you know what Lululemon is? The store in the
No.
malls that you see? Okay, well, apparently they make yoga pants. And, like, Lululemon, so let's see. Oh, wait. Sylph
I
just
haven't been
posted
in a mall
something.
for a year now. Come on.
Okay, so there's a comic strip. I'm just going to read
We
the
don't
comic
even
strip.
have a
here.
mall. We don't even have a mall where we're at. It's just an old town center, which is bought by our town's hospital, mind you.
I think last time I went to the mall was when I was with Chris. So yeah, it's been over like 2 years at least.
So
Last
Sylph,
time I went was like back in 2019 for a con.
Of course, I prefer to order online because I hate crowds.
yeah, and you can just go on Amazon nowadays if you really need stuff.
Or the store website.
So Sylph posted a comic, and on the first panel, it's like Apple AirPods cost $159, but they can't pay taxes or decent wages to their Chinese factory workers. Post, and then the right panel, you said on an iPhone, heck, gotcha. And then on the third panel, cars should have seatbelts, yet you bought one. Hypocrite much? Owned. And then the last panel, we should improve society somewhat, yet you participate in society, curious and very intelligent. Yep, sign along the guys. There's always people that are going to try to do gotcha moments when the gotcha doesn't really mean much. It's like, oh, hi, see, people are like, the people like to do ownage culture when the ownage
Look,
doesn't
a lot
really
of people
apply.
are fucking hypocrites, okay? This world is full of them. I'm a hypocrite, you're a hypocrite. Let's face it. Nobody really cares about society. They just want to have their time in the spotlight, really.
This is almost like the I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes line.
Basically.
So the one thing he's talking about, Lululemon, I think I'm pronouncing that right, but according to the thing that I was hearing on the Google pronunciation thing, I was getting it right. Lululemon, they sell yoga pants, and in the store they have a sign that says we don't condone racism, sexism, discrimination, or hate. And of course, Chris Rock is like, why do you not, like, just tell me what the brand is. I don't want to know about this shit. It's like, you just sell yoga pants. Just tell me if the yoga pants that you have will make my balls not sweat.
Too much information out, buddy.
Oh, come on, dude. We don't need to know about your sweaty sack.
Oh no, he'll get more into his guy thing in a few minutes. So he talks about, like, okay, I mean, he's like, you do discriminate against somebody, poor people, because you spend because you're selling them at $100. And my reaction is, those yoga pants probably have material that costs a lot. So obviously these companies that make these yoga pants, they're compensating for the materials that they're using. So that's why some of these things are so expensive, because of the material that they use. Now, if you wanted like really, if you really wanted cheap ones, then they're probably going to be using cheaper materials. And even then they'll probably like jack up the price with that. But Chris Rock was like, it was like, they're selling $100 non-racist yoga pants. I think I speak for everyone in this audience when I say I think all of us would buy $20 racist yoga pants. And every time you walk in them, it whistles the N-word.
Oh. Damn.
Just because it's affordable. And by the way, when he said that, I was looking in the crowd. It didn't seem it got a lot of good reaction to that, I will say. Even amongst like the majority of the black the people in the audience, it didn't get that much. It didn't get that much laughter. It's just that this guy, and it's like, and he also says like, oh, and also there was a commercial that Subaru did, and Subaru's like, if for every Subaru we sell, we will donate $250 to your favorite charity. That was the no worries, Sylph. And so he comes back and he says, look, why don't you just sell me the car for $250 less? I'm my favorite charity. And you know what Elon Musk does every time he sells a Tesla? He gets his dick sucked.
Motherfucking Christ. Sit down. Somebody sit down. I can't deal with this shit right now.
Yep, somebody's an Elon simp. He even goes into further detail with this, which, by the way, this got a lot of criticism from the critics that were reviewing this. It's like he went way too long into Elon getting his dick sucked. He goes, that's why he looks so weird, because his body has negative sperm. He's the richest man on earth. No one has a lower sperm levels than Elon Musk. Women are just sucking his sperm out before it's even formed. There's a 6-month waiting list for Elon Musk's sperm. He's flying women to the moon. Who can compete with that shit? No one has less sperm than Elon Musk. Only Jason Momoa comes close to having less sperm.
Hey, I ain't flying to the moon. I ain't having this man feed me. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
As much as I want to go to the moon, I ain't gonna have this guy jamming his negative like non-soldiers jumping up inside of me.
I'm sorry. Anything that entered like Johnny Depp's ex
What?
isn't going in me. Oh yeah, he dated that bitch, the one that he went to court with, Johnny Depp.
Amber Heard.
Yeah, Amber Heard, that bitch.
So basically, Chris Rock is now an Elon simp. Self. I basically he just talked about like how like nobody has a lower sperm count than Elon Musk because he gets his dick sucked every time he sells a Tesla. And he's taking women to Mars and getting his dick sucked. Like Chris Rock would love to have the amount of money that Elon Musk has. A lot of these stand-up comedians would. And he praises him because it's like, oh my God, this guy can just have sex with any woman he wants because of how much money he has. That man is a simp for him. Anyway.
Are you sure he's not wanting to do it with him instead of the ladies?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. Even though Chris Rock is the kind of guy they'll be like, I'm not gay. What are you talking about? So anyway, he goes into the fact that they're doing the show in Baltimore, which by the way happens to be the same town that, or the same city that Jada Pinkett Smith was born in. So people were actually saying like, isn't it a coincidence that one of the Smiths was actually born in the city that he's doing the show in? I wonder if that's just a coincidence or if this was planned. And of course, like it's like nobody's been able to prove it. So I don't know for sure.
Would it really be surprising?
Wouldn't be surprising, especially since Chris Rock has had a thing for Jada Pinkett Smith for years, even before the whole Slapgate thing happened. Like even in the 90s, he had issues with her. Like even during like the Oscars So White controversy that happened when Chris Rock was hosting the Oscars, like he apparently had some things to say about her. Like let's just say that he does not like her. So he says about Baltimore, whenever he does like his homework, whenever he arrives in a town, he always finds out places where he should not go and places where he can buy Coke. And usually they're the same place. He says America's got a problem because we're addicted to opioids. Of course, he would like to pop an opioid if he can, but he doesn't know any pharmacists. But he says that opioids are not the biggest addiction in America. The biggest addiction in America is attention.
I think I would agree with this one.
I don't think so. Like, because here's the thing: like, people because if the biggest addiction is attention, then what's the point of socializing? Because people were doing the same thing when people didn't have their phones. Like people were socializing in ways like people would try to get in the newspapers. People would just try to like this is like a social thing that humans do a lot of times. They just want to be able to socialize with people because we're social creatures. To say that it's an addiction, which by the way, if it's really bad, where if you're like Mr. Beast that is constantly just doing it so you can just build your brand and everything, but He doesn't say that addiction is a thing that happens with rich people. It's a thing that only happens with people that are like influencers on social media. The way he frames it is not in the sense like, oh, Elon Musk is seeking attention just by buying Twitter. He doesn't frame it in that scenario, because in his mind, rich people getting attention is like, though they deserve it because they're rich. But when it comes to people that just make like random pictures online and be like, oh, hey, I just had sushi for lunch, like my post. Or, hey, this is me 25 years ago when I was still hot, like this post. Like, that's his form of, like, people seeking attention, which, I don't know. I mean, that seems like a pretty normal thing that happens nowadays. I mean, it's just the concept of how, you know, how we live through social media nowadays, but it's not an addiction. To say it's an addiction, I mean, you would have to first A, prove it. First, you would have to prove it's an addiction. And B, there would have to be psychologists on top of this that would have to be printing peer-reviewed papers, which obviously Chris Rock is just doing this for jokes, but obviously he's doing this to prove a point about Will Smith, because this whole hour before he does the 7 minutes on Will Smith, this is just an entire preview of what he's going to say about Will Smith and everything. So he's like, okay, there are 4 ways that people can seek attention. The first way to seek attention is to show your ass on camera. And I mean like literally showing your ass. Even if you don't have an ass.
Excuse me?
Yes. Like even if your ass is not that big, still show it. That's why
please.
That's why Black China has more followers than Gayle King in his mind, because China's showing her ass. The number 2 easiest way to get attention is to be infamous. So, you just have to do something that gets people's attention, like shoot up a school or stab Dave Chappelle at a comedy show, in his view. The third way to get attention is to be excellent at something. Like, and he uses Serena Williams as an example, one of the greatest tennis players ever. But it's like, oh, it's hard to be excellent at something because, you know, it actually requires you to get up in the morning and go work out. Like, you lazy fucks. Didn't actually say that in the show, but that was the interpretation he was saying. And it's like, oh, that's just why people show their ass more often, because they don't want to actually go to the gym and work out and get up in the morning. And the number...
Have you not seen the Instagram posts that people make where they record their workouts and then the same people, like this lady was called Gym Karen, where she had a thing set up and she kept getting annoyed at people for walking across the screen.
Yes. Like that was a very infamous, yeah, that was just recently. And there was also a guy that was in the background just staring, or just trying to come up to her at like random times. Like, yes, People record their workouts. But probably in Chris's mind, and this is just speculation, but Chris probably doesn't think that that's excellence. Like, you have to actually be like, you have to actually be the best at something in order to be excellent. Like, all you have to do is work hard and you can do it. Like, no, meritocracy doesn't work like that, or it doesn't work in this. It doesn't work in America. And then the fourth and final one, the fourth and easiest way to get attention is to be a victim. And he's like, oh, it's like, where am I going with this? Like, what? Because everybody at this point, when he said that, the whole audience is like, where's he going with this? And he's like, no, what I'm saying is there are real victims in the world. I'm not victim shaming. There are people that go through trauma and they need your love and support. But if everybody claims to be a victim when the real victims need help, nobody's going to be there to help them. I mean, we live in a world where the emergency room is filled up with people with paper cuts. And I was like, what? Since when have I heard that on the news?
Fucking stupid. Wow, people are really fucking stupid now if they're going to the emergency room just to have a paper cut.
But
I'm like, dude, it's just a paper cut. Just put put on some like anti infection crap and then put a Band-Aid on it. Come on.
But
I think he's just trying to point out how some people are weak these days.
Yes, but even
I know it. I'm just saying. Grow a goddamn pair. Holy shit.
But I don't even think like he understands what people go through at the hospital. Like, some people go to the hospital now just to see if they have a cold, because usually it's hard to go to a regular doctor because sometimes they don't have the health care to go see a regular doctor. Like, sometimes going to the hospital is probably your only solution. Like, I have a coworker that I go to the hospital just to see if just to check out a sore throat, and it turned out to be mono, and now they're in the hospital for like multiple days on end. So yeah, because sometimes you have to go to the hospital because you don't know, and a lot of people can't even afford to go see a regular doctor because they don't have the health insurance. And even the hospitals are even worse, but the hospitals are like the closest thing that they can get to.
Sometimes the doctor's office is flaky as fuck.
Yeah, that too. And sometimes you
Very
have weird-ass
Yeah,
doctors.
tell me, Matt, and you have to wait on hours for the fucking doctor. I think I waited like 3 hours.
If you're late 15 minutes, or not 15 minutes, if you're late 5 minutes, that, oh no, you have to go the next day, even though person's going to be an hour late. See you.
This is Chris Rock not understanding what poor people have to go through. And even though he grew up poor, him now in this day and age being a rich guy that just made $40 million off of a Netflix special, like, he's no longer living as poor, which, by the way, we'll get to because he does the whole "my pronouns are" joke later on. But like, yeah, he doesn't understand what people go through like nowadays when they need to go to the hospital for something. Even though he's had that experience in the past, nowadays he doesn't have to because he lives in a big ass mansion in New Jersey. So, I mean, he can get all the health care he needs if he needs it. So, anyway. Let's see. Where did he go? Oh, he also goes into the whole, he also goes into the whole thing. It's like, he goes into the whole January 6th insurrection. It's like, when did white men start thinking that they were victims? Which I think this was probably, like, the only good joke that he had throughout, like, the entire special, which is saying something. It's like, white men were actually upset because they felt like the government was being taken away from them. By who? It's certainly not black people, because in Chris Rock's mind, like, when's the last time that you went on a black cruise ship or flew on a black airline? All we have are vodka brands and a couple of record companies. The insurrection was white men trying to overthrow a government that they run. And he compares the white people in those clips to like monkeys because they were climbing up walls and taking shits on the politicians' desks.
Wait, what? Literally?
Yeah.
I am entertained.
Yeah, and they're all, and yeah, and he's like, what are these people upset because there are no white couples in commercials anymore? He's like, there are no black couples either. I was watching a commercial the other day where a Japanese woman was married to a caterpillar and their kids were squirrels.
Excuse me?
Which,
How the hell that happened?
well, I don't even think that's a real commercial. I think that he just made that up. Yeah, because there's no way that commercial would ever make it on the air.
I mean,
That
there
would-
was a commercial where 2 water bottles are at the pool, and the water bottle husband realizes his water bottle wife cheated on him with a bunch of fruit, and that the
Oh,
kids aren't
Lord.
his. What's a commercial?
But then again, you could say it was 2 water bottles and some fruit. It's not like caterpillars and a human woman have squirrel children. Oh, and he also goes into this whole thing like, when did Snoop Dogg start becoming Morgan Freeman on television? Like this, like Snoop Dogg is selling beer, wine, tampons. There was a commercial that Snoop did where he was selling.
Tampons?
Oh yeah, you didn't
Wait,
see the.
what?
You
What?
didn't. Like, he was even selling like reverse mortgages and calling them doggages, according to him.
Oh, hell.
The only
That's
thing
the
I
news
want
to me,
Snoop Dogg
if I mean, like, as long as it's not like a green tampon that looks like, or something that looks like a blunt of weed. Come on.
I think the only thing I want Snoop Dogg to sell me is weed.
And-
Like imagine like having weed, like having weed as a tampon. Come on.
I mean, I thought it even was weird when fucking Snoop Dogg started doing a show with Martha Stewart. Come on.
Oh,
Yeah, a cooking show.
oh, dude.
All right, so next in the special, he talks about Meghan Markle, which people had a lot of issues with. Because if you don't know, Meghan Markle and the prince, because she's now a duchess. So Meghan Markle was on Oprah talking about how she felt that the royal family was racist to her because she's a black woman, and and she didn't like the fact that they were always asking her questions about like what shade of brown is their baby gonna be. Very adamant
Bitch,
about.
you fucking
None of your damn business.
bitch, you had a chance to fucking not opt out of this fucking marriage before it happened, and you continued. Now you have to deal with this.
Well, I
It's
mean,
the royal family. Of course they're gonna fucking worry about this shit.
well, I mean, yes, they're racist, but yes, they're racist, but I don't think that people should be I don't think people should be like saying like, oh, what did you expect? I was like, look, I don't think that, you could get at her for that. I mean, you could definitely get at people for the whole colorism thing, because they're definitely checking to see like what shade of brown is the baby gonna be, because that is colorism. And then of course it's like, oh yeah, well, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, if the royal family does it, so do we black people. Like, we're always looking at what shade of brown they're gonna be. This is Chris Rock. He's like saying like, is it gonna be like Steph Curry, or is it gonna be more like Draymond Green and all that stuff? Like, because the whole colorism thing is like the darker black you are, like the more discrimination you get, and the lighter skinned black you are, the less discrimination you get. That's colorism for people that don't know. And obviously, people have had issues with this particular segment of Chris Rock's show, because it's definitely getting on a mixed race black woman in Meghan Markle, and obviously this is a thing that happens in society with colorism, and people thought like Chris Rock is probably the last person to be talking about this shit. Or getting on her for that, and trying to defend the royal family in some instances. It's like, yeah, they're racist. What did you expect? It's like, well, I mean, you can't falter for that in their eyes. And so let's just say that segment did not bode well for people that were criticizing it. The only people that seemed to not have a problem with it were the Fox News viewers that were watching the show.
I mean, of course. It's Fox News. What do you expect?
So they didn't seem to have a problem with that. Then he goes into the whole thing about like, oh, it's hard for, it's like, but I understand what she's going through because she's a black woman trying to she was trying to be accepted by her white in-laws. That's hard, but it's not as hard as a white girl trying to be accepted by her black in-laws. You bring a white girl home for Thanksgiving, your mother's gonna say something to you. It's like your mom's gonna say, "Mom, like, why is there a social worker at the table?"
Oh.
Yep.
And it's like, Mom, that's Jackie. We've been married 9 years. You got 3 grandchildren. Stop being so mean to her. And it's just like, but Chris is like, I know the dilemma. It's a black girl trying to be accepted by her white in-laws. Look, if you want to be accepted by your white in-laws, you need to marry a Kardashian. Because the Kardashians will accept everybody. Kris Jenner's like the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, and your huddled masses. Kris Jenner... what?
I was about to say, hell, she even accepted the crazy Kanye.
Oh, we'll talk about that because he goes into this. So...
Oh, Lord.
He's like, oh, she'll fix up a plate for everybody. She's like the black grandma that fixes up a plate for everybody. She's like, oh, hey, bipolar rapper, bring your ass in here. Hey, crackhead basketball player, bring your ass over here. Oh, dad's got tits, bring your ass over here. The Chris even says the Kardashians love black people more than black people love black people. I mean, the father freed O.J. Simpson. And that's a little thing.
And then got throat cancer.
Yes. And so he was part of the dream team. Most people forget about that. And one of the actors from Friends actually played him in that. Played Robert Kardashian in the miniseries that they did on FX. I forgot which Friends member it was, but
the dude who played Chandler, I think.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Joey or Matt. It was definitely I know the actor's first name is
Matthew
David.
Perry.
No, it wasn't Matthew Perry, and it wasn't Joey. It was the other guy. The one that got with Yeah, the one that got with Jennifer Aniston's character at the end and had a baby with her.
Ah, that dude. Okay.
Yeah, he played Robert Kardashian in there. Did a really good job too. Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr. played OJ in it. John Travolta played one of the Dream Team lawyers, and yeah, there's definitely that. I'm trying to remember the other actors' names, but they're all just escaping me. Anyway, but so yeah, Robert Kardashian helped to free O.J. Simpson, a guy who killed 2 white people and got away with it. That was like so. He makes a joke about saying that God appeared before Robert Kardashian after OJ got off, and he said, and God looked upon Robert Kardashian and said, for the sin of helping to free OJ Simpson, from this day forth, for the rest of eternity till the end of your time, or to the end of time, your daughters will fuck nothing but black men. And not just any black men, crazy black men, the craziest black men to ever live.
Wait, didn't one of them like marry a white guy?
Well, I know Kim actually went.
It wasn't Chloe or Ken. What's the other one?
Well, Pete was with Kim after she broke up. She divorced Kanye or Ye, whatever he's going by now.
It was like that. The other sister I meant.
I don't know.
The third one.
I don't know. I don't watch the Kardashians.
The Kardashians. I don't like them.
I don't know them either. I don't watch the shows.
I don't know them either.
I don't want to be stupid
Think
around the rest
anybody
of my
does.
life.
A coat hanger shoved up my nose until it reaches the brain. Then know that.
Gosh.
But I know at least one of them married a white guy and they were together for a while.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure if they're still married.
So the point being, Circus, is that the thing that God said didn't even come true in the end.
Yeah.
But the one thing that Chris loves about the Kardashians is how quickly they accepted Caitlyn. And he thought that it was beautiful. And Chris actually says that he prefers trans women to cis women because he can watch football with trans women because they know how football works and basketball works.
Jesus.
Which is stereotypical also. And he even uses an example. If my father became a woman, I would accept it because I'm an artist and I would accept it immediately. But he said, but my brothers won't. My brothers drive trucks, so their reaction is going to be very transphobic immediately. And so so at Christmas, I'm going to have to go to my brothers and be like, I would have to, wait, where did it go? Sorry, I lost it. I would have to check my brother. It's like, asshole, she's your daddy. Which also is kind of weird. It's like, because then you would have to just say she's your mommy, but...
Oh.
Yeah. So he also says, like, oh, America's in bad shape right now. We got it worse than Ukraine. And the audience is just like, what? And he's like, yeah, I said it. You want to know why? Because Ukraine is united and America is divided. And it's like, yeah, Ukraine is united because they're going up against Russia right now. Like, that's why they're united. There's a fucking country after them in a war. Like, if
Putin is a crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah, and Chris even says, like, look, if the Russians came here right now, half the country would go, oh, let's hear Putin out.
No.
No.
Not me.
I know, because they would go after him if they started invading America. Obviously, Chris is not good at politics, I'll say that much. Although he says Republicans lie and Democrats just leave out nuance. Or leave out some things so they can not have, like, both sidesism conversations. I'm like, well, no, you can't do both sidesism. It's like, oh, hey, the whole country is fucked up. School shootings every week, the opioid epidemic, abortion is illegal in most of the country. And it's like, and people are saying to me, Chris, you shouldn't talk about abortion. It's a women issue. And he's like, when I go to the clinic, it was like, sorry, he's like, oh, you shouldn't talk about it. It's a women's issue. And Chris says, I've paid for more abortions than any woman in this room has. So I have a right to talk about it.
What the fuck? You need to learn to read the room, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, when I go to the clinic, I say, give me the usual. They give me the punch card, and they said, hey, 2 more abortions, and you can get a free smoothie.
God damn it, Chris.
No, don't.
I want to like you, dude, but somehow I just want to punch you in the face.
That is so fucked up, but...
God damn it.
And Chris goes on to...
Chester's God damn it over here.
He goes into his daughters, and he says, like, I have 2 beautiful daughters, and I am pro-life for their lives. And I am pro-choice, but there's a part of me that's pro-life. But since I love my daughters unconditionally, I love them. Not just as little girls, but as grown women. I want my daughters to live in a world where they have complete control of their bodies. And because of that, I'm pro-choice. I am pro-choice. I believe that women should have the right to kill babies. You want to kill... It's like, you want to do that? I don't give a fuck. But let's not get it twisted. It is killing a baby, at least in Chris's mind. Because whenever I pay for an abortion, I request the dead baby to be gone. Sometimes I call up the doctor like a hitman. Is it done yet?
Oh, dude.
No.
Dude, stop it.
And people always argue about first trimester, second trimester, and all this shit. I think women should have the right to kill a baby until it's 4 years old.
What the fuck?
Jesus, stop!
I think, and Chris says,
There's a limit, and you could...
Chris says, I think you should be able to kill a baby till you get that first report card.
Oh my god.
That's like, well, you're not getting a scholarship. Like, okay, you can watch Stranger Things, but after that, we're going to the clinic. I need to get my smoothie. Which is horrible.
Oh, good Lord.
And then he's like, I'm pro-life, pro-choice, I'm pro-right choice, I'm pro-good choice, I'm pro-practical choice. And he says, ladies, if you have to pay for your own, if you have enough money to pay for your own abortion, you should get an abortion. Stop letting broke dicks come inside of you.
Oh.
No.
And then he goes in, and then he starts talking about his own kids. And he's like, everybody cares about abortion, trying to save these kids. You never when a kid goes crazy out of school, they always say, no child is born racist. No child is born hating. You have to teach a child to hate. All children are good. All children are born pure. And then he says, only people without kids say this shit. He says kids are the meanest people on the face of the earth. They're the most racist, sexist, homophobic, fact-phobic, will say anything to your face, meanest people on earth. And my response to that is, it's like, well, yes, because they haven't been up to date on the standards of society yet. Like, what, you just going to expect a kid to know an entire lifetime of society in a matter of months? But a lot of these parents sometimes do think that. They think their kids should know about the ways of life from like thousands of years by the time that they're like 4 years old. Like, you have to teach them, like civility is a learned behavior. Like, you have to actually teach that. And a lot of parents don't know how to teach it. And then they're like, why is my kid like this? It's because of you, asshole. You're the one that's not teaching them this shit. And a lot of times, like, and usually if the teachers don't do a good job of it, that also what happens. Because teachers have to, this is why we have teachers. Because sometimes teachers do a better job of raising your kids than parents do. And parents don't like that, which is why they always try to do homeschooling.
Thus more abuse.
Yeah. Chris says, we have the worst offspring of any animal. We're the only animal in the whole animal kingdom that has to raise its kids for 18 years. And my response to that is, how many elephants do you know that have to go to work and then try to earn a living wage? How many lions you know what lions do? The male lion has a harem every single day, and I'm sure that you would want to be a lion. Most guys would love to be a lion and just have like a harem of like all the lionesses that just surround them all the time and be like, yeah. I was like, I don't have to worry about my cubs. They'll take care of the cubs. I'll just keep going around the harem. But like he even says, like, birds just let their kids get out of the nest after 2 or 3 days. So basically, he's basically saying birds are better than most humans. It's like, oh, we don't have to deal with you. Chris just does not like being a parent. I'll just say that. I mean, even though he loves his kids, there's just something about parenting that he just does not like. It's like, he says no.
Here's my advice. If you don't like being a parent, then don't become one.
Yeah.
There's a thing called protection.
Don't be silly. Wrap your fucking willy.
Exactly.
So he talks about, it's like, oh, my oldest daughter, Lola, she used to bite kids. You'd be at a birthday party, they'd be singing happy birthday. Ow!
Good Lord.
And he says, like, do you honestly think that me and her mother taught her to bite? Do you think me and her mother sharpened her teeth? Do you think we bought her mannequins to practice on? No, she just came out of the womb like that. And but here's the thing. Here's the thing. It is pretty common for autistic people to actually bite as a way of trying to get the input that they need. Now, I'm not saying that she's autistic, but I have found out that Chris Rock is neurodivergent in some instances. So it would not be surprising if her daughter actually was neurodivergent as well. And a lot of times when autistic kids need tactile input, they will go and they will bite things to get that feeling in their teeth. Because a lot of times they can't feel
certain inputs that they get from their surroundings. So that a lot of times they actually bite their hand or bite like certain random items, or they just bite other people. And while that's not necessarily a good thing to bite other people, the reason why they do that is because they're not getting that tactile input. So what the parents should do is say, okay, let's try to find other things that you can bite instead of just biting other people so you can get the input that you need. Instead, Chris is like, oh, she keeps biting everything. Like, what is she, a monster? What is she, Wolverine?
Yeah, she's Wolverine.
So Chris says, I love my kids, but I don't like them. And well, the reason why I don't like my kids is because they're rich and spoiled.
Whose fault is that?
Pot calling the kettle black, maybe.
And then he says, like, I know some people say, Chris, you're rich. Yes, I'm rich, but I identify as poor. My pronoun is broke.
That's what I said. Pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to admit that he's a man that has money now.
Mm-hmm.
He refuses to be. He's like, I refuse to be called rich, or I refuse to be called rich. I am broke.
Look, if you could be in the Bahamas the next day on the beach enjoying liquor,
You ain't broke, and you ain't broke, boy.
You ain't broke.
Yeah, and by the way, this is also
can only dream.
Yeah, and by the way, this is the whole like stereotypical stand-up comedian thing that they do. It's like, oh well, my pronouns are fuck you, and I was like, okay, no, we're gonna be hearing this. We're gonna be
your ass down.
We're gonna be hearing this for the next 40 years.
Hopefully, none of us will be around that long.
Yeah, well, no. When I do stand-up, I will be making fun of them, the other stand-up comedians. Like that's how I'll make my career if I ever had a stand-up career. I'll be like, hey, did you hear the other special that this person did? Screw them. And so he goes, my kids are spoiled, and I did it to them. Me and their mother did it to them. Like most black parents will say, I want to make sure that my kid never has to understand what it was like growing up in the hood. For me, I want the exact opposite. I want my kids to know shit about the hood. I want them to be lost every time they're in a hood.
Wow.
Isn't that like technically like abandoning them?
Kind of. And it's like, here, kids, you learned your lesson about what it was like for me growing up. Yeah, because, there's parents out there that want their kids to go through the exact same shit they did, and they don't want them to actually do better with their lives.
That is disgusting.
Those type of parents.
Because they're so petty that they want to make their kids' lives as miserable or some other bullshit.
Yeah, so even then, he goes on to say, like, my kids went to the best schools on earth. My kids speak multiple languages. They curse me out sometimes, and I don't know what they're talking about. My kids ski, they ride horses, they fence. I got 2 fencing black daughters with afro puffs saying touche. It's like, you can't fuck with my daughters. My daughters are spoiled. I remember my youngest Zara, when she was in kindergarten, one day the teacher said, today we're going to learn about the 4 seasons, and my daughter said, that's my favorite hotel.
Ouch.
You had never seen daughters like mine. They're spoiled. And I did it to them. When they were kids, I used to take them to Disney all the time. But I didn't take them like normal people. We went on the Illuminati package. We weren't out there waiting to meet the characters like everybody else. We were backstage hanging with the characters. I smoked a joint with Goofy. Minnie Mouse was giving me a lap dance, rubbing her big rat ass on me.
Okay.
Oh no!
He goes,
God damn it!
He's like, my kids had it much better than me because when I was a kid, we went to Disney. My mother and my brothers, we went to Disney as poor people on a church trip from New York to Orlando in August on a bus with no AC.
Yep, that's poor people shit.
Yeah, he said, it was so hot I thought we were going to see the devil from Fantasia.
I'm sorry, but that one got me.
Yeah, that got me too.
It- Now, by the way, he did not put the
Personally-
he did not put the infantasia part. I did. I just made the joke
Okay.
better. It took us 2 days to get there because the driver was selling weed on the way. And when we finally got there, we weren't really there because Disney's in Orlando and our hotel was in Alabama.
What?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And we were staying in a nasty motel. It had a bed that vibrates if you put a quarter in it. We were little kids. We were little kids. We didn't know that people had sex on that mattress. And we were begging our mother, Mommy, can you put another quarter in? And my mother said, I'm going to put a quarter in, but this counts as a ride.
A bed that vibrates. I could already hear like I'm gonna use like an example. Hey Caitlin, yeah? You might want to shut that off. I think I'm having our date right now. If you don't get that reference, it's from the Drew Carey show.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where
That's been a long time since I've seen that show.
Same.
it's from that episode where Drew and Kate were trying to really consummate their relationship, but because their personalities keep clashing, and Speedy was very like protective of Drew.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he was trying to, because it's Christ. Speedy was trying to get into the house, while Oswald and Lewis were trying to like keep him outside, but he like lured them in with some beer and got in the house.
Jeez.
And it's also the one where Drew sprained his manhood,
Oh, God.
Ow.
Ow,
tripping over his
ow.
own dog.
Ow, ow,
Don't
ow,
do
ow,
that.
ow, 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 ow. Physically impossible.
Hey, Joe,
It's impossible to do, but ow, ow, ow. Anyway. Chris says, yes, Chris goes on to say, yes, my kids are spoiled, but they get in trouble just like any other kids. About 3 years ago, my oldest Lola was a senior in high school, and they went on a class trip. Now, was a school this school had a fancy trip. They were going to Portugal. Was like, damn, they're going to Portugal? When I was a kid, we went to the Bronx Zoo. We had to watch a gorilla jerk off and write a report on it. Which, by the way, why are you focusing so much on what the gorilla's over there doing with his member?
He's a zoophile. What do you
Oh
expect?
God. We are degenerates.
No. He's just horny all the time.
I like speak for yourself, man.
Yeah, some of us ace people, like, yeah, we can get horny, but not that horny.
I know, right?
So anyway,
I'm
I'm pants and I'm like, what the fuck right now?
so Lola went on the class trip, and they're in Portugal, and 4 of her white girlfriends decide that they're bored and they're gonna leave the class trip. They snuck out to a bar and they got drunk.
Oh, dude.
And they tried to sneak back in, but they got busted. Now these rich white schools, they don't play that. They don't have that. You get busted sneaking out drinking, they'll kick you out. But this school had rich white parents, and rich white parents don't let their kids get kicked out of school. So all these rich parents, they all got lawyers, and they got good lawyers. And Chris was calling his ex-wife and saying, I don't want to get a lawyer because I was mad at my child. I was like, Lola, what the fuck is going on? You're biting people? Now you're doing this? Now you're getting drunk? And Chris tried to talk to his ex-wife. He says, let's wait before we get a lawyer. Let's see how this turns out. Let's see how this unfolds. My ex-wife said, no, we're getting a lawyer and we're going to sue the school. We're going to sue the teachers. We're going to sue the dean. I can't believe they let her out of their sight. We are suing these people. And I started arguing with her. But the last time I argued with my ex-wife about a lawyer, I lost my house.
Oh Lord.
Which, by the way, in his previous stand-up special, which was 5 years ago, he admitted cheating on his wife, and that's why he got a divorce.
Oh.
Because he had sex with a woman that was a lot younger than her, than his ex-wife. Anyway, so we got a lawyer, and I'm talking to the lawyer, and the lawyer says, okay, I talked to some people, and if you give me 10 days, I should be able to get her back into school. So Lola's home for 10 days. One day I come home from work, and I see Lola outside laughing with 3 of her white girlfriends. And he goes, have you ever just wanted to choke your child for smiling? Like, no.
We live in a society.
Like, geez, why would you think that, dude? So he goes, so why? So I walk over to Lola and I say, Lola, what's so funny? And I said, Daddy, stop it. You're so serious. I'll be back in school in no time. And I like, this smug motherfucker. And at that moment, I snap. What? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, hey, you're the one who raised her.
Yeah. And so he's like, I snapped, I got back in the car, and I drove to the school, and I found the dean, and I said, hey, listen, we need to talk. I know you're going through this stuff right now. I know you've got a lot of parents trying to sue you and trying to sue the school and trying to get you fired, but I need a favor. I need you to kick my daughter out of this school. I need you to kick her black ass out of this school. I need my black child to learn her lesson right now before she ends up on OnlyFans. Which, by the way, people do get on OnlyFans and they make more than that they did at their job previously. If you want to know the truth
That's
about
true.
that. And he's like, please kick my child out of this fucking school. And they kicked out all of them, but they kicked my child out first because I'm a celebrity. And I went home acting like I didn't know what was going to happen. The phone rang. I said, Lola, you should get that. I act like I didn't know anything. And Lola got on the phone and they gave her the news. And then Lola comes all in sad. Daddy, they kicked me out of school. And I was like, I told you those white people are mean. I told you those white people were going to get you. And to this day, Lola has no idea I had anything to do with it. Her mother has no idea I had anything to do with it. The lawyer has no idea that I had anything to do with it. And they won't find out until they see this Netflix special.
And I bet they hate him right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
This is how you end up getting put in a shitty old people home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that you got so mad at me because I said something snarky to you that it just be like, oh, my child talked back to me? Well, I'm going to go ruin her life then. I'm going to make her cry after she gets like the bad news that I had a hand in. And this, by the way, this was the one thing that I had the most issue with out of like this whole special. It's like, dude, you basically just took your kid out of a school because of a decision, because of a thing that most teenagers do when they're 14 years old. I mean, most teenagers, like, it's like that whole Dazed and Confused movie where teenagers go out and drink and smoke cigarettes and smoke weed. Like teenagers do that shit. Not all of them, but most of them that want to like be like, fuck you, mom, or fuck you, dad. Like, they're gonna do that. Like, I had the same thing happen to a couple of my classmates that went to Germany on a school trip. They got drunk and then they came back and they got suspended for like a week. They didn't get the whole expulsion deal that this school apparently did. And Chris says, oh, it's a beautiful thing. It worked out. The whole thing humbled Lola. Lola got kicked out of school. She had to apply to another high school, and she had to write essays explaining why she got kicked out and why it would never happen again. And when she applied for college, she had to do the same thing. And now 3 years later, my daughter Lola is one of the coolest people I ever met. My daughter Lola goes to culinary school in Paris.
With your help, of course, that's why.
Oh yeah, let's be real. She didn't do it on her own merit. She had your help.
Yeah.
I mean, she wouldn't have gotten that culinary experience if you didn't have the money to back it up. And the only reason why she's humbled is because now, and the only reason why she's being humble around you now is because she's not being snarky to you and pissing you off and snapping your brain.
Sounds like. It's basically like it's basically like saying if your kid pissed you off, it's like, so you have chosen death.
Yeah.
Or I'm about to ruin this child's whole career.
He's like the parent that likes to have control of their kids, even when they're adults and they have their own kids.
Yeah.
He's like the
As long as there's not the purity test thing.
Oh no, they're gonna purity test even when their kids have kids, and then they have grandkids, and then their grandkids have kids. Like, if you try to put them in an old folks' home, they'll be like, how dare you defy me? And their kids are like, fuck you, we're making the decisions now. You made decisions for us as kids, now you're gonna know the pain, asshole. It's like, what? Why are my kids so vindictive to me? What did I ever do to them? Like,
I don't know, you got me suspended from school?
No, you got me kicked out of school. You went to the dean and basically said, like, kick my daughter needs to learn her lesson. What's that lesson is, I don't know. Like, don't talk back to your dad? Is that the lesson? Anyway. So he says, my mother was born in 1945 in a little town called Georgetown, South Carolina. And my mother told me when she was a little girl, it was against the law for a black person to go to a white dentist. And if you were a kid and you needed your teeth taken out, if you were a black child and you couldn't find a black dentist, you had to go to a vet. My mother...
Racist much?
Oh, yeah, this was back when, like, segregation was still going on. And I think about it now. That same woman that had to go through the indignity of getting her teeth taken out by a vet, that same new woman now twice a year gets on a plane, flies to Paris, and has coffee with her granddaughter who's going to culinary school. My mother sits down, tells her about her life, and then Lola bites her.
Damn.
Which does not happen. That's just a joke that did not fly with the audience. So then he tells, like, oh, my life is good. I can't complain. I got some things going on, but I'm good. I'm single. I've been single for a long time. I was married for a long time, but I was dating somebody for a while. Now I'm single again. And here's the thing. You don't realize all the amazing things that a woman does for you until you don't have one in your life anymore. The other night, I'm trying to get some sleep, and I couldn't sleep. And then suddenly it dawned on me. I said, this pillowcase is filthy. Are we supposed to change these? I flipped it over, and it was black and greasy.
Ew.
No.
And he's like, dating, and he goes on to say, dating is hard because on the one hand, I want a real relationship. But on the other hand, I just want to have sex. He goes, ladies, I will lick your ass and never call you again. But if we hold hands, you're my partner. Why is holding hands more... He's like, Chris says, like, why is holding hands more intimate than licking ass? That doesn't make sense. I do a net...
Excuse you, sir.
He says, I'm doing a Netflix special tonight. I'm making a lot of money. I might lick somebody's ass tonight, but I'm not holding anybody's hand.
Okay, we don't need to hear about your rim job stories, okay?
He goes,
Lisa,
he goes,
remove your tongue from my ass.
Oh God! Now I'm just thinking of like
And
Victorian.
I had to explain what Victorian era the room.
I'm trying to think of Victorian era like sex stories. It's like, and did you note that he tried to lick my ass earlier? I'm like, what the hell?
Please, sir.
That sounds like
please give me
almost like a
another
Victorian version
job.
of. Damn it, Circus! Now I'm already thinking like a Victorian era version of The Room.
I did not betray her.
I did not betray. I did not betray her.
Hi, Sir Mark.
Oh God, Lady Lisa, you are tearing the entire. You are tearing my entire. You are tearing my entire body apart, Lady Lisa.
Where did you get the drugs, honey?
Everybody.
The whole interaction with Chris R.
I was like, oh my God, he needs his money. Here, let's just pay him off before he starts using that pistol of his. Denny, why would you?
Be a sword.
Denny, why would you even think that tobacco was good for you? You do know tobacco is wrong, right? Anyway, so
I did not hit that.
What's the concept of hitting? What is that? No, I just So Chris says, I can't tell you every woman I've ever had sex with, but I know every hand I've ever held. I'm trying to date a woman my age, which is...
Oh, God.
He goes, I'm trying to date a woman my age, which is 10 to 15 years younger than me. Basically doing the whole Leonardo DiCaprio thing.
Bro, stop.
And he's like, hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. I didn't get rich and stay in shape to talk about Anita Baker. I'm trying to fuck Doja Cat.
Yikes.
Yikes, sir. Check, please.
So a lot of women think that men date younger women because they're younger. No, Chris says, like, men do not date younger women because they're younger. Men date younger women because they're less expensive to date. He says you go out with a 25-year-old, she just wants a pair of shoes. And if you're lucky, your 25-year-old girlfriend will model those shoes for you. And if you're really lucky, she'll model them for you naked.
Jesus.
Yes.
And she'll be like, do you like your shoes, Daddy? Do you like the shoes, Daddy?
Can I go up and slap him next?
Yes, please. You may kick him in the balls from me.
By the way, you're not the first person that has said this.
And here's some rubber gloves.
Yeah,
But-
you don't want to get that.
Right.
Use some gloves too, still, if you decide to slap him.
By the way-
Gloves help.
By the way, you're not the first person to actually say that after the special came out. There were people that saying that Will Smith was a hero. That should be
Hashtag.
You know, I actually
Did
felt
nothing
bad
wrong.
after the slapping, but now I'm not.
Hashtag Will Smith did nothing wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised. You know what? I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised that hashtag did not actually. I'm sure because of Elon Musk, they probably were trying to make sure that hashtag didn't go through. But I'm pretty sure Elon Musk loved talking about how he has a low sperm count because he gets his dick sucked. I'm sure he loved when Chris Rock said that. But anyway,
Jesus Christ, stop it.
So and he goes like, so that's what happens when you date a 25-year-old girl. But if you date a 50-year-old girl, they want more than shoes. A 50-year-old woman will be like, hey, can you help me fix my roof? And that's not.
I just want weed. Jesus.
And he's like, that's not sexy. What? I gotta get estimates for your pussy? Like I gotta get contractors for your vagina? God damn. You go out with a 50-year-old, they got a house that's falling apart. They go, you have anybody that has a snake? A snake? You don't want my dick to ever get hard, do you? He goes, you go out with a 50-year-old, they always got a car that's falling apart. They always got the worst version of a good car. The good car has a good name, but they got the worst version. Like, they have a Tesla that takes gas. Like, who sold you this car?
Jesus.
Like, even though they have all these problems, the 50-year-old sex is great. Like, he goes, like, that 50-year-old sex is great because it's simmered longer. It's been on the pot a little longer. Having sex with a 50-year-old woman is like spaghetti. It's better the next day.
And I'm like,
Ew.
I'm sorry. Have you ever eaten?
No.
Have you ever eaten spaghetti that's been heated up in a microwave? It is never the same after it's been made fresh.
It's I hate to say it's kind of a little nastier too.
Yes, because that sauce is now dried up, and those meatballs have been dried up a little bit more.
You just don't ever want me to eat again.
That was not intended to be
help me.
that was not intended to be a joke. That's what actually happens.
I know. With all these fucking food analogies, it makes me not want to eat.
So Chris,
Jeez, check please.
Chris says you'll be living that 50-year-old woman's house. You'll be like, okay, see you later. And then she says, no, I need a favor. Can you go with me to the mechanic to pick up my car? I need you to go with me because if I go alone, they're going to take advantage. So now you got to go with her to pick up her car. You don't even know what's wrong with the car, but you got to go, and you're standing there like a sexual scarecrow. And the mechanic says that's $500, and you just go blah, and then the mechanic says,
God damn it.
and the mechanic says, okay, $450, and she goes, well, I only got $35, and he's like, you lied to me. I just got your roof fixed.
I feel like I should be high for this.
Well, don't worry. We're done with the whole what he thinks about 50-year-old and 25-year-old women. So then he goes into his next segment where it's like, oh, everybody says that all men have all the power. They said men have all the power, but we don't have all the power. Women have the power because there's nothing more powerful than a beautiful woman. A beautiful woman could stop traffic. There is nothing about a man that could stop traffic. You could be a dead man on the highway with your dick out, and they will drive around your dead corpse.
Okay.
There is nothing more powerful than a beautiful woman. And you can call it female beauty. You can call it pussy. You can call it whatever you want. I've been working since I was 7 years old. I've been working for almost 50 years. I used to sweep up a supermarket, and I've made millions of dollars. And every dime I have ever made, I have spent it on sex. Every cent. Either
Man, Moody must be high on fucking like laughter gas right now.
he's like either sex or sex adjacent. Every dime, getting the woman's hair done, getting the woman's taxes done, getting the woman's son into camp, getting the woman's tooth fixed, getting the woman's driveway done, getting the woman's mom some life insurance, giving the woman some bunion surgery. I've paid off more college loans than President Biden.
Holy fuck.
I've spent all my money on sex, and if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it all over again.
Lord
Lord.
help you.
They say men have all the advantages, but no, women, you got all the advantages. You ever notice how you could tell what kind of neighborhood you're in just by who's not working? You could tell what kind of neighborhood you're in just by who's not working. If you're in any neighborhood in America at 12:15 in the afternoon on a Wednesday and you see women with sweatpants on coming out of the gym, pushing babies, riding bikes, having brunch and going to SoulCycle, chances are you're in a nice neighborhood. There's a Whole Foods probably nearby. Wherever women are not working is an amazing place to live. That's the neighborhood that I want to live in. A place where women are not working. Now let's switch it up. If you're in any neighborhood in America at 12:15 in the afternoon on a Wednesday and you see men in sweatpants, smoking cigarettes, hanging with their friends, lifting weights in the yard, riding children's bicycles as their actual transportation, then you are in danger.
What the hell?
And he goes, my ex-wife is the smartest woman I know. She has just as much money as I do, and she's not even funny.
Oh.
And he says, "There's
Ooh.
not." He's like, "There's nothing more powerful than a beautiful woman. Just look at Beyonce." Now, Beyonce is very talented, but even with all that talent, there's nothing more powerful than how beautiful she is. She is one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen. Beyonce is so fine that if she worked at a Burger King, she could still marry Jay-Z.
Damn.
Damn.
She could still get a billionaire businessman. Now, if Jay-Z worked at a Burger King... And he goes, "By the way, this is not a Jay-Z diss. I do not need another rapper mad at me."
Oh, snap.
Okay, so here we go. This is what everybody was waiting for. This part right here. So he goes, so here's the whole thing. It's like, you all know what happened to me getting smacked by Suge Smith. Everybody knows. Everybody fucking knows. Yes, it happened. I got smacked a year ago at the fucking Oscars by this motherfucker. And people said, did it hurt? It still hurts. I got Summertime ringing in my ears.
Oh.
Oof.
He goes, "You will never see me on Oprah or Gail crying. You will never see it. Never gonna happen." I couldn't believe it. You will never see me going, "Oh, I loved Men in Black." No, it's never going to happen. No, fuck that shit. I took that hit like Manny Pacquiao.
Damn.
People said, did it hurt? Yes, it motherfucking hurt. And people are saying, like, all you guys are fighting all the time. We're not fighting. First of all, I know you can't tell on camera. Will Smith is significantly bigger than me. We're not the same size. This guy mostly does movies with his shirt off. You've never seen me do a movie with my shirt off. If I'm in a movie getting open heart surgery, I got a sweater on. Will Smith played Muhammad Ali in a movie. You think I auditioned for that part? He played Muhammad Ali. I played Pookie in New Jack City. I played a piece of corn on Pootie Tang. Even in animation, this motherfucker is bigger. I'm a zebra, he's a shark. Which, by the way, is not true. He did not play a shark. He played a small little fish in Shark Tale. So that joke went completely over people's heads. Mm-hmm. It was Jack Black and Robert De Niro that played the sharks. But then he goes, "But Will Smith practices selective outrage." Because everybody knows what the fuck happened. Everybody that really knows that I had nothing to do with that shit. I didn't have any entanglement. For people that don't know what everybody knows, Will Smith, his wife was fucking her son's friend. Now, I normally would not talk about this shit, but for some reason... Which, by the way, the Jada and Will have an open marriage, so they've agreed that they can see anybody they want outside of their own marriage. That's the part that he doesn't tell you. I was like, now I would normally not talk about this shit, but for some reason these people put that shit on the internet. I have no idea why two talented people would do something that fucking low down. Like, what the fuck? We've all been cheated on. Everybody in here has been cheated on. None of us has ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. None of us have said, "Hey, I was sucking somebody else's dick. How did that make you feel?" Like, why the fuck would you do that shit? She hurt him way more than he hurt me. And by the way, he does that shit. Everybody in the world called him, said he was a bitch. I tried to call the motherfucker and give him my condolences. He's not picking up the phone for me, but everybody was calling him that. And they called his wife a predator. Everybody called, And who does everybody was calling him out, and who does he hit? Me, a black man he knows he can beat. That is some horrible shit right there. That's what the fuck happened, okay? Get the fuck out of here, man. I did nothing to this motherfucker, okay? Whatever years ago, his wife said I should quit the Oscars. I shouldn't host. She fucking said I should quit because Will didn't get nominated for Emancipation. I mean Concussion. He got the movies messed up on the live show, and he's like, "Sorry, guys, I fucked up the joke." And this was on the Netflix live special, which, by the way, they edited this part out later, Netflix did, like a couple of days later.
But he's. By the way, she did not advocate for him to quit because he did not advocate for him to quit because he got nominated. He didn't get nominated. She was actually saying like, "Oh, I'm very proud of Chris Rock, and I think that he would do a good job hosting the Oscars." So where he got that from, I don't know. And he goes like, "So I do some jokes about her. Who cares?" I was like, "Now, so she started it. I finished it. Like, what do you think was gonna happen? Nobody was picking on her. She started this shit. Nobody was picking on her. She didn't get because her husband didn't get nominated for a concussion, and then this man gives me a concussion." I mean, I love Will Smith. My whole life I loved this dude. I saw him open up for Run DMC at the Nassau Coliseum. These guys made brand new funk. I loved this guy. He made some great movies. I've rooted for Will Smith my whole life. I rooted for this motherfucker. And now I watched his latest movie, Emancipation, just to see him get whipped by a white slave owner. It got me rooting for the white slave owners. I was like, I was telling them to hit him again. Which got some pretty cringy responses from people. It's like, really? I was like, this is what you take away from this? Like, you want to see Will Smith go through even more torture because of it? And so he ends his special saying, "Chris, how come you didn't do anything back to him? How come you didn't fight back?" It's like, and he says, "Because I got parents. I was raised. I've got parents. And you know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people." And then he drops the mic, and then he just accepts the praise that he gets from the audience after that.
Damn.
Which, by the way, people have pointed out, it's like, okay, so he won't fight in front of white people, but he certainly will talk about how he hates black women in front of white people, and you know, they'll just completely laugh about that. And yeah, let's just say that this did not get this special did not get a lot of great reviews, and that's putting it lightly. There were there was even an article that said Chris Rock still deserved to be slapped by Will Smith.
Mr. Smith, would you like to accept an opportunity to slap Chris Rock again?
Mm-hmm. And here's some context too. He's made fun of Jada Pinkett Smith since 1997.
Dang.
So he mocked her in 1997 when she participated in the Million Women March.
All right.
And Jada was fighting for black women equality, and Chris was married to a black woman during that time. He also has black daughters. Later on, and she talks about the boycott at the 2016 Oscars. And so during his opening monologue at the ceremony, Chris Rock stated, "Jada got mad, said she's not coming. Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited." And then there's also the 2009 documentary that he did about black women in hair called Good Hair. It was called Good Hair, and it was about, and it painted black women in a bad light. And then yeah, we talked about how like Jada and Meghan Markle were like subjects for this latest series or this latest special, and then him talking about how like women are only good for him if they're just giving him great sex. It's like, in his mind, like, and then even going after his daughters when they being all snarky to him. So people, it's like, yeah, Chris Rock does not like black women all that much, and that's one of the reasons why he deserved to get slapped in the person's minds. And then people on Twitter were even like very judgmental of Chris Rock. It's like, wow, the slap certainly took all the comedy out of you, or at least what was left of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I talked about how Michael Jackson's nephew said, "Keep my uncle's name out of your mouth."
Yep.
And I don't know if like Chris Rock actually tried to hit on Jada and then she turned him down, and I wonder that's why he's selectively outraging against her, which people, by the way, called him out on his hypocrisy. Like, you say you're not a victim, but you certainly are acting like one on your comedy special.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you're selectively outraging Jada over Will. Like, you're blaming Jada a lot more than you're blaming Will for the slap. Oh, and by the way,
just hurt.
and by the way, Will Smith has not watched the special, but he has said that it's like, oh man, I just wish Chris would let this go. Like, I was really disappointed by what happened, by the entire thing, from what I've heard from friends and family. Like, even though Will is banned from the Oscars for 10 years, like, there are still people are saying like, nobody watches the show anyway. Getting banned from a show that nobody people watches is not that big a deal. And then people were also saying, like, Chris Rock over the years has just been pandering to, like, a Fox News crowd for years. Like, he just became a part of the rich people culture, and at that point, there was no going back. So, yeah, that was basically all the reviews for it. And, yeah, they paid him $40 million for it.
I wish someone paid me $40 million to do something.
Yeah, I think we all deserve, like, to at least make that, and the rest of America. Like, why do you need to give one guy $40 million to do an hour of work? That's not really that good. Can you imagine if you were like an artist and you just made some like really crappy painting and somebody said, "Yeah, that's worth $60 million." And I was like, "Really? I only spent 5 minutes on this." And they're like, "Good enough for me. Here's your 60 mil." And I'm guessing
Only we live in a society like that.
Yeah, well, if we can't now, then we certainly will have to make it easier for the future generations afterwards. But yeah, that was the whole Chris Rock special, and I'm sure that they're going to probably do more live specials with even more other stand-ups. So if that ever happens, I'll let you know. But
let's give our audience a taste of what's next week, what we're talking about.
Let's talk about those weird foods that we were talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about like weird fast food shit lately.
Yeah, definitely fast food. Definitely fast food.
I had mentioned the freaking like training video from Wendy's.
Yes, and then Mooney mentioned the Slut Burger, and then Sylph.
No, that was Sylph.
Oh, that was Sylph. Oh, okay.
That was Sylph mentioning that.
No, it was under I don't know, because Sylph's name's not attached to it. But no, Sylph was talking about the
T-Rex. I think they mentioned the T-Rex burger.
Yeah, they mentioned the T-Rex burger.
Dude, I can't keep up who put who.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different fast food shit that we're gonna be talking about. Like, everyone's gonna compile a list of like shit that they've seen, and we're all just gonna put it in there. Yeah, and we'll talk about some weird food shit for next time around, and we'll have fun with that.
Maybe we should give a Kevin update before we leave.
Oh, as much as I don't want to, I'll do it for you.
Thank you.
Because that's what a friend does. They go through torture just to do
It's
it.
just to please a friend.
Well,
Alright,
I would give the updates if you give me the guy's real name.
I'm not giving you his real name because I don't want you trolling him.
Oh hell no! Yeah,
Oh,
and we don't want to
so
give
well.
him we don't want to give him any recognition.
And I'm not doxing.
I would actually fake being his girlfriend just to see
Oh,
what
no.
happens.
See, this is what I
Don't
this
you
is
fucking dare!
See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Let's not go the Chris Chan route, please.
That's what I said. You know me so well.
I know.
You know I would do it.
I know you will do it. That's why I'm not giving you the name.
We ain't doing it. Screw that.
Then again, if I wouldn't do like a fucking like blue spike.
No, no, we're not going there.
Oh, dude.
We're
Let's
not
not go there
going
either.
All right. Ruin Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
Oh no.
It says, like, when she tells you to be more romantic, and it's a picture of Eddie, like, pushing somebody down near his crotch and be like, you look very pretty today.
Nope.
Oh, God, now he ruined The Office. I mean, you can already ruin The Office anyway. The Office has already been ruined. Even
Well,
when
he's
it was,
already
like,
ruined the law, so this doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, so he's like, the most iconic moment in TV history. It's Dwayne saying, Michael, I can't believe you came. And Michael said, that's what she said.
Oh, I hate that saying so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I told people to
know.
stop. I told people to stop saying it in 2009, and they said "fuck you" to me. He says, "I'm afraid someone may honestly believe that Japanese people have pixelated genitalia."
What?
No. If you don't sit your ass down.
Where's Chris Hansen when I need him?
Yeah, really.
All right, the next meme he posts. He says, "I bought a toilet brush the other day, but I went back to toilet paper. It's less messy, and I don't scream as much."
Oh! Me and Moody's having a laughing ass tonight.
Oh, God. Hey, hey, that sounds wrong, but you think, why would you put a fucking toilet brush right on your dick? Fucking painful. That poor thing. It must have been horrifying for having its inside be violated with that damn thing.
Which one are we talking about, the person or the toilet brush?
The toilet brush. Oh god, that sounds like some first stand-up routine.
And the last thing, he's fantasizing about him doing doggy style to a woman while she's playing JoJo the arcade game.
Thank you for ruining JoJo for some of us.
No, he already ruined JoJo already.
And that's a total boner killer right there.
Look, if we can find another person like Kevin, then you won't have to do this, dude.
No. Because they're gonna probably ruin all the things that you love, just like Kevin would. So there's no point.
Yeah.
Well, we better not go into a gaming hobby shop then, because we might find another Kevin.
A gaming
Going
coffee
to
shop.
Netgears like that.
A gaming coffee
know,
shop. Gamers don't go to coffee shops. They go to card
I
stores.
said hobby. Hobby.
I heard coffee shop.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's another one to add to the list.
It's just somebody should start making that
Okay,
list.
all right. Okay, now you already got yourselves another idea. The pervert's coffee shop.
Oh God, no, no.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be next door to the laundromat. It'll have anime everywhere.
No.
And all the drinks
It
will
will,
be named after fucking characters.
no, it will be right across the street from the laundromat, and it's gonna be right next to that guy that sells golf clubs.
Those are maid cafes.
Oh
Those are maid
no!
cafes.
Yeah, it's a maid cafe, but the girls there's bodyguards in there so that they can protect the girls.
Or I'll say, like, the coffee shop will probably be like where all the men's rights activists go, and they'll just be like, why is it that no women come to this place? And, like, all the employees are guys, and they're like, why is it that no women come here? And they're all just like, huh, and they're just, like, scratching their heads going, why? And they don't know the reason why. Like, they're just completely oblivious. And they're like, why are all the girls going into that laundromat? Like, there's nothing going on. Like, what's sexy about laundromats? And then they find out inside is like a pretty good nightclub inside.
Sorry, no neckbeards allowed.
Yeah, so we'll actually have Korn managing the door. Be like, oh, hey, I've noticed that you got the neckbeard coffee. Well, you're definitely not bringing that in here. Now I know you for real. And he starts just like labeling all the guys that come in and be like, well, you're the neckbeard. You're not a neckbeard. Bye.
Corn, get out of the fucking laundry mat. You're supposed to fucking be the bouncer.
I work here. I work the laundromat and the nightclub.
Well, we have no
Aiden
corn for
Circus,
the
you're
penis,
just don't intimidate one of our bouncers. Come on.
Me
Yeah,
and Corn always fight.
Yeah,
We
Korn
love
is
each other.
Korn's got the fucking muscle. He's got that Detroit cornflakes muscle right there.
Dude, he's related to Chicken Boo from Animaniacs, of course.
I mean, come on. He's our bouncer.
Oh, that cat covers that Sylph like posted. Like imagine like just being on like imagine just going to your room and seeing that and be like, that is colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm like in the middle of doodling. Let me see.
Oh my god, there's so many cats, it looks like it's forming a blanket.
Oh, these so cute.
Ah, Donkey Kong wins again. Gets to provide for the whole island before the movie comes out. By the way, Jazzy was tweeting, DMing me. It's like, man, the Mario movie looks so good now. I can't believe people actually think this was gonna suck.
I never thought it was gonna suck, perhaps. I just didn't agree with the voice of Mario. I'm fine with Jack Black being Bowser and all that bullshit.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it is. Like I said, my childhood friends and I were gonna bring the band back together and be like, yes, DK. Like my childhood friends and I, we're gonna go see the Mario movie when it comes out, and we'll probably go to our old hangout, which is IHOP or Buffalo Wild Wings, and then just like eat like right after the movie's over. I remember we did that for Infinity War. And yes, Happy Mario Day, Alex. I remember
Hey, Allie.
I remember we went to what was it? I remember we went to see Infinity War, and I remember we got out of the theater, we went to Buffalo Wild Wings afterwards, and my friend was like just not crying, but I will be like, he didn't like the ending, so he was like, and so he just kept asking why through the entire time we were eating dinner. He's like, why did this happen? Why did you do this to me?
Dude, get over it. It's just a movie.
Well, then he did. Then Endgame came out, and then everything was fine. But it was just the raw moment like that. So yeah, the three of us are gonna go see the movie again. Or not again. What am I saying? The three of us are gonna go see the Mario movie when it comes out, and
You're gonna have a reunion again.
Well, yeah, because we haven't
There we
haven't seen each other since the pandemic happened. So we all been stuck in our own little corners trying to get out of the pandemic. Which, by the way, those numbers are going back up again. So it looks like we're going to be going back to,
Mask.
keep it. Well, I mean, I've already been doing it for a while, but yeah, I know some people are like, I know today, like we had an outbreak of mono and an outbreak of the flu, like with most of the people that are at work. So we're just like, yeah, it was just me running the place. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna keep the mask on like I've been doing all week, regardless if people were sick or not. So it didn't really bother me all that much. But yeah, people were like, yeah, I gotta go back to wearing masks because it's like all these things are spiking again.
Literally, I got sick after dinner last night, and I was at my sister's, so she had to drive my ass home. That's how bad it was.
Ugh.
I
Right-
didn't even get to say goodbye to my nieces or nephews. I was like, just get me home.
Yeah, it's like, oh fuck, just get me out of here.
I know. I want my couch, and I want it now, and I want my fur ball.
Oh. Somebody got an F? Mario the idea versus Mario the man. Everyone knows Mario is cool as fuck. Horrible opening? Oh, this is a philosophy paper. But who knows what he's thinking? Who knows why he crushes turtles? The professor writes in pen, to save the princess, also gross. And why do we think about him as fondly as we think of the mythical non-existent Dr. Pepper? And the professor's like, what? Perchance. You can't just say... The professor's like, you can't just say perchance. I believe, and believe is crossed out by the professor, it was Kant who said, quote, experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is mere intellectual play, end quote. Mario exhibits experience by crushing turds all day. And the professor's like, stop. But he exhibits theory by saying, let's go. Keep it up, baby. And the professor's like, what? What does that mean? When Mario leaves his place of safety to stomp a turdy, he just crosses out stomp a turdy. He knows that he may... He knows that he may die. And the professor's like, writes, okay. And yet for a man who could purchase lives with money, a life becomes a mere store of value, a tax that could be paid for, much as a rich man feels any law with a fine as a price.
Dude, it's just a game. Get over it. There's no logic.
I can't read what that part is, but we think of Mario as a hero, but he's simply a 1%er. And the professor's like, why are we saying a 1%er? And then of a more privileged variety, the life kind. And it was like, who? Perchance. And he just crosses out perchance. Wow, that guy cannot write a philosophy paper to save his life.
Dude, I think you need to find another fucking subject to study in college.
Yeah,
you're not getting anywhere with philosophy.
Well, and listen, philosophy is not even a good major to get into. You can't really get a job in philosophy unless you're a philosophy professor, which there's not that many of. And most
I would like to see this guy fucking go after psychology.
A philosophy major going after psychology?
Yeah. Because he seems like he's trying to be a fucking psychologist over here.
Can you tell me, why Bowser is so obsessed with a human woman? And why does he always keep wanting capturing her? And how is it that a man can constantly just have fireballs coming out of his hands after he captures a fire flower? And why does he dress up as a furry when he goes into the cat suit? Well, we all know why, because Mario is a furry and he's proud of it.
Because Mario's bringing sexy back.
Yeah, and then, he did it, and then Luigi jumped on it, and then Peach jumped on it, and then Toad jumped on it.
And Rosalina.
And Rosalina, too. But I should say Blue Toad, because Red Toad is being, as Captain Toad is just like, I'm not doing that shit!
If somebody had actually played Super Mario 3D World and tried to get into beating the crown mode. Ugh.
Yeah, I got the Switch version recently, and I'm on World 3.
I was talking about the one on the 3DS, on the Wii U.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got that for the Switch version as well. So I'm gonna do it all over again.
Damn. F in the chat.
Because I mean, I beat it. God damn it! I was like, there's no way that I'm not completing this level. I am doing it. I am winning this level. Because it was fucking hard. It was so hard. The last level is so hard. But anyway, this is me talking Mario on Mario Day. One of these days, I'm going to have to actually, one of the things I want the Switch to do is have Super Mario RPG so I can play that on Mario Day next time. But anyway, we're going to leave it here for today because it's about time. Next time around, we're going to be talking about some weird fast food disasters. if we could find a whole lot of them, which I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. Yeah, so we'll talk about that next week. And then we'll be back for Ace Attorney, hopefully, on Wednesday. And then, we'll get into Case 4, which is considered to be the last case for the Game Boy Advance version. But when it was made for the DS, they made a 5th case, so this is technically the penultimate case. So, and then after we complete that game, we'll move on to another game before we move on to the sequel for Ace Attorney. So, until then, everybody, we'll catch you all next week. Hope you enjoy yourselves. And, Daylight Saving Time, I believe, is also happening pretty soon. Yep.
I thought they were trying to do away with this.
Yes, Sunday we move our clocks forward an hour. So we're going to be back on Daylight Saving Time again on Sunday. So you're going to be seeing the show an hour later, technically. Yeah, we'll just have to get used to it for the summer. And then when winter comes around, we'll turn it backwards. But for now, we're all going forward, so we're going to lose an hour of sleep. So be prepared. So give yourself an extra...
Daylight Savings Time.
Just give yourself an extra hour to sleep. And we'll catch you all next week. Bye, everybody. Take care. And enjoy your Mario Day.